they would be so dead after that whole interaction.
Dead.
Like they spent the whole night getting the ever-loving hell beat out of them. Like, I'm going to light your face on fire.
Home Alone almost never became a movie. It's going to die if we defang it. He's like, if you don't defang it, I'm going to die.
So he quit partway through. There was no more budget. Like they were slicing that thing as thin as they could. Don't let this shot get out in the open into the world. I have some stats. And it kind of took me down a dark path.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
The best Christmas show out there.
I need a copy of that sweater.
My wife got it for me. Actually, this actually might be my wife's.
Got my jingles on.
It is a bit tight now that I think about it. It's, what does it actually say? Do you know?
With your nose so Dwight.
Oh, with your nose so Dwight.
It's like Dwight is Rudolph.
Merry Christmas.
This is a show. Yes, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year soon. If you're listening to this one, this would be a fun one to watch.
Agreed.
Because we're going to talk about
the best Christmas show out there. Listen. I know you have your opinion of what the best Christmas show is, and you can leave that in the comments. But I'm telling you, the best Christmas show was made in 1990, and it's called Home Alone. Not Home Alone 2.
You got the date, too.
It's the best one there is. So, I mean, I do want you guys actually to put in the comments below what your favorite Christmas show is. Dave, of course yours is Home Alone 2, but what do you think might also be?
Mine is not Home Alone 2, it's Home Alone 1.
Home Alone also. Is it really your favorite one?
Oh, I thought you meant Home Alone number 2.
What's your, I'm confusing myself. What is actually your favorite Christmas movie?
Because, so side note, really quick, Home Alone 2 is literally almost like a shot-for-shot remake of Home Alone 1. Like as far as
the idea, the concept.
In fact, the opening shot, people like, I don't know, film experts or whatever say that it's literally the same shot. Like they just took the same shot and just brightened it a little bit. But it's like the way the story unfolds, the sort of rising action, the conflict, like it's all like the same movie.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can tell, we're pretty excited. We had an entire podcast set up to come in today, and we had a guest and everything. But we were just like, we want to do something Christmas. Like, I have kids now. You have kids, man. I used to not be into Christmas. When I was a child, of course, but as an adult, I didn't care. I really didn't. I love the music, but now that I have kids, like, I feel like a kid again. I'm excited, like looking through, like where I used to look through catalogs and circle things and be like, this is what I want. I'm doing that, but now like on Amazon, but for my kids and for my wife. And it's brought like a corny to say, but a little bit of magic back into Christmas. And I'm really excited.
It's really cool when you know, like your kids are going to be unwrapping gifts and they're going to be excited about it. And you're facilitating that. It's really cool. By the way, we're not drinking urine. It looks as though perhaps we're drinking tiny bottles of urine. What is this?
It's like an On It type thing or an Alpha Brain. It's like that, but it's like a generic version.
It's like Joe Rogan stuff, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's not Joe Rogan stuff.
Isn't it On It? I thought it was On It.
Is it? Oh, it is. We clearly don't know what's going on.
Well, that's what you gave it to me. That's what I saw on the wrapper, but it's supposed to help with our focus and here we're like,
so it's 9:30 and it's 9:30 at night and we're doing this podcast. But look, I joke that it's the best one ever, but it is so nostalgic for a lot of people my age. It's funny. It's silly. It has a long life to it, meaning it worked in 1990 and I feel like it works today. But before we dive into too much, I kind of feel kind of blessed a bit with just like the podcast and how it's been moving forward. We started this, a year and a half ago, kind of as a side project because our wives say we talk too much, and they would always say, we do. Save it for the podcast. And so we started a podcast assuming that nobody would ever subscribe to us because we're idiots. But thank goodness.
Hence the brain drinks.
The brain drinks. But like for real, man, we have 32,000 on YouTube and almost 20,000 on Instagram.
Which is like kind of nothing.
Oh, I know.
And we know that. But like for us, it's really exciting. It's exciting to like build something. And
it's also like, this isn't our only thing. Like we have jobs, we have companies, we have families. And this is something that we get to do kind of together. And like to have our channel have over 30 plus million views and we just started is so cool.
Last couple of interviews have been particularly fun and cool. Do you want to talk about those?
Well, just like we had one of the coolest guys I've ever met, Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler.
Which you say we had him, but like we went out to his location, it's kind of been funny to read some of the comments, which we do read the comments. We read basically every comment. Like some people have said like it's a green screen, which I get because it's so beautiful. But we did in fact actually go out to Wyoming, went to his ranch and it was awesome. Got to ride horses and
it's been a week.
I should plug really quick Chasing Mountains Media and Chasing Mountains Clips. So we've got 2 additional channels beyond this one where you're watching the podcast. Chasing Mountains Clips is just exactly that. It's shorter clips of these podcasts. But
because we found out that not everybody can sit down and watch an 1.5 hour podcast, but someone can sit down. Yeah, someone can watch 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah. And so we're seeing 14, 15, 20,000 views on each one of those clips, feeding the long 1.5 hour podcast.
Yeah. And then Chasing Mountains Media, which actually is our company, that for us is going to be a little bit more like creative, interesting, compelling content that isn't just the 2 of us talking or shorter versions of the 2 of us talking. We're going to make some mini documentaries. We also are planning on Chasing Mountains Media to really kind of tell the story of going out to see Dwayne. You know, just traveling out to Wyoming. We took our families. We drove out there.
Well, we took 2 days to actually get to Wyoming.
Well, which happens with traveling with tiny humans.
How old was your baby at the time? Because that was
a year. I guess about a year.
She was a year. I had a 2-year-old, freshly 2-year-old, and then my son was a 4.
And we stopped at Mount Rushmore on the way out.
Yep. And I was having van issues the entire way.
So we'll tell all of this story. We have all this footage. We were filming nonstop. So we're really excited about the Chasing Mountains Media channel because it's going to be in a lot of ways kind of a more comprehensive, like behind the scenes type of platform for us. So just kind of wanted to like make everybody aware that that's out there and there's going to be a lot coming.
Well, like even we went on a cruise, the biggest cruise ship in the entire world. Yeah. And we did a whole thing about the cruise and we're going to release it there. But also the podcast we just did with Ben, the Navy SEAL. We're actually going to do a project with him where he actually tries to take us through some of the training he does. I've never done any of that. So we're using simunition, which is
I want you dressed like this, by the way, when you go through your SEAL training. You're going to be the biggest, brightest target.
Yeah. I'll wear like Go Navy or no, Go Army. Go Army.
Navy would be appropriate.
Go Army, excuse me. So with Chasing Mountains Media, this is something that we've always wanted to do. We've been creating content for other people forever. Just hundreds of millions of views that we've done together of other people's bands, stuff we've done.
Well, and like, not to like toot our own horn, but like, I mean, we've worked with the majority of the big major record labels and management companies in Nashville, several in LA and New York.
Platinum artists,
national corporations, like real stuff is I guess my point. We did it at a professional level, and so like it's exciting, to do that.
Well, we're doing the content ourselves. The idea really is like we've been producing content for other people for our careers and learning to advertise them, do this stuff. Behind the scenes, we're starting to create actual content, documentaries. We want to do long form stuff, kids shows.
We have a lot of cool stuff coming on a lot of good multiple guests, channels now.
Traveling everywhere.
Yeah.
But like we're in a place where we're wanting to create stuff for us. So when we look and we watch some of these Christmas movies, it comes to a place where not only is it nostalgic, but it's like, I want to do that. How did they do that? How did they create magic that lasts a while? Home Alone almost never became a movie.
There was some sort of ownership dispute.
Right. So I do have a little bit of that.
Funding issue, I guess, really, right?
Yes. So the script was originally written in Warner Brothers.
John Hughes, I think, right?
I think so.
I can confirm.
Look that up real quick. But Warner Brothers actually came in and was going to fund it for $10 million, which I know that sounds like a lot of money, but that'll go quick in a movie.
Writer's John Hughes, director's Chris Columbus.
Okay. It ended up getting to a point to where the filmmakers actually did the budget and worked out. It was supposed to be $14.7 million to actually make the movie. They came back and was like, do it for $13.5 million or it's not done at all. And really before the decisions were made, Warner Brothers was like, we're cutting it. Just the whole movie. Well, they had anticipated that was coming. And so they started talking to some of the people from Fox Entertainment.
Are you saying they started getting like that side chick? Is that what you're saying?
So Fox Entertainment,
they knew the breakup was coming, so it's kind of like, how you doing?
How you doing? But they knew that was coming, and so they actually
don't get a side chick.
Don't, please, guys, don't. Then Fox came in and was like, all right, we'll take it, we'll do it, and so they gave them the budget, and they kind of got started with it. But what's interesting, in order to save money, they didn't film it at the studios. They didn't film it on location. I know we see that as you go in here. Let me pull this up real quick.
Can I jump ahead while you're pulling that up and tell how much they made at the box office in the U.S.? Do you know how much?
I have no clue. So it was made for $14.7 million.
In the US anyway, box office, they made $285 million.
Since when? Like to today or?
No, I mean the box office. So when it was in theaters.
200 million?
Yeah. 285. So almost 3. So like,
so hold up.
If you're
Warner
talking
Brothers, you did a stupid decision.
Right. They should have just.
What's weird is this director is not like a Joe Schmo. No one knew who he was. He had hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
So why would they not put the faith in him?
The writer too. The writer, John Hughes, had done several, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I did not know that.
Uncle Buck.
Which is where he met Macaulay Culkin, right? He was in Uncle Buck, yeah.
To the point you're about to make, you're talking about this school.
Mm-hmm.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Uncle Buck were filmed in that school, that high school.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Okay, can I pull up actually some
so
pictures?
talk about that, because that's pretty wild.
First off, if you notice on this slide here, yes, I'm going old school with a little bit of PowerPoint.
We're very formal.
Best Christmas movie, Home Alone, Christmas, 1990.
Yeah, that's a good title.
Yeah.
Good job.
I think that was actually just the title of the thing and it just put it in. Anyways, look at this. From what I saw a full documentary where they used the gymnasium, but they also used part of the pool to make the set.
Do you know why they used the pool?
I don't actually know.
They used it specifically. They may have used it in some other instances, but specifically, remember when the wet bandits, the burglars,
yes,
flooded the neighbor's house, and like towards the end of the movie, when he had to run through their basement and then like come up where the two guys eventually caught him, Marv and Harry.
Yeah, he
ran through basically the pool. Like they built the basement in the pools and then filled it up, and he like ran through it. So that was, I think, maybe more than anything else, why they use the pool in the school.
When you're watching a movie, you're just assuming, well, that's the house, that's the location, they're filming in there. But the reality is you can't always get the shot you need, because sometimes you need to be further back. You need to light it all. You need flags. You need people. You need a place for your crew to be off camera. Well, you can't do that in someone's house. And that's someone's house in Chicago.
Yeah, which we'll talk about. But I always thought they filmed the whole thing like basically in and around the house.
When I was a kid, I thought I did. Yeah, I thought it was too, but
I thought it like 3 hours ago.
I mean, I get that, but like we've been in the film industry. We know how many times have we filmed something, we show the outside of this building and then we cut to somewhere else.
Yeah. A lot of times inside, a structure is built for you to just live in or operate in. The ceilings aren't high enough to get like the proper lighting in that they need.
So even if you look at this one, it's a gymnasium. You can see like they lifted up, you know how that you can lift up the basketball hoops and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
The basketball rims.
I didn't notice those.
They're up and out of the way. The bleachers are out of the way. They built it. As you go to this next one, I mean, they're doing the inside, meaning they're not going to finish the outside. They're finishing the inside. Now they can light it like it's daylight, nighttime. I mean, you can see right there, it says buzz room, upstairs bathroom.
Does this bring back like trauma from your previous life as a carpenter? As a builder?
I mean, not really. I enjoyed it. The problem was with a lot of the people were tough to deal with. I mean, they're just rough and tough. And
you could have become a carpenter in the film industry, apparently.
I mean, I would have loved that.
That would have been fun.
I've heard rumors.
You kind of did that for some of the videos that we did. You built all kinds of like.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Outrageous sets that are still.
I didn't even realize I achieved that dream. But look at this one. This is the inside the kitchen, but notice how up here, there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
It has a remnants of it because they can actually put the ceiling back on top if they need it in the shot, but they can do the lighting. They can have camera shots. They can actually have a crane dip in and get a shot that they need. It's brilliant to actually, I mean, it's an abandoned school. Obviously it's cheaper than renting out these studios. Bro, those studios are so much money a day.
And just create a bunch of flexibility in how they capture it. You know, what's kind of funny is like, again, our most recent podcast before this one was with Ben Wallach, Navy SEAL, CIA contractor. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's awesome. I think episode 33.
Yeah, he's way cooler than I am. Like a factor of 100.
But he does his CQC courses in an abandoned school that he didn't just like wander in there.
Who's going to tell them no?
Yeah, right. But apparently abandoned schools, that's where it's at. That's where the magic happens. Who knew?
Also,
not like in a weird way.
A horror movie, like that'd be a good place to film a horror movie. But like, did he use it for Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
So all the school scenes,
same school.
I mean,
you know here's the other thing that's interesting. I was looking at a map. So it's a New Trier High School.
Okay.
It's like just several blocks south of the actual house.
Oh.
So like sometimes in a movie, the house may it may be very far from, that Hollywood studio or whatever, because they want that house and maybe it's halfway across the country. But in this case, they're actually quite close. Like the real house where they did the establishing shots and the outside shots and stuff. Yeah, I bet you could drive it in probably a few minutes to get down to the high school then.
I think it's brilliant. If you're looking at
it's Chicago, so who knows? But
if you're trying to keep that budget low, that travel time.
Mm-hmm. As recently as the last couple of years, you could rent it on Airbnb.
What?
Yeah, Airbnb was actually, I think, doing some kind of promotion where like for $25, you could stay in the place. But I think you had to kind of win the opportunity to do it.
I would have rented that, ordered pizza, and then keep the change, you filthy animal. I would have reenacted that. That probably has happened a dozen times.
So this house, we've kind of talked before, and I know we will, about how it was like unusually giant. Like what was Kevin's dad doing?
Yes.
The house is in Winnetka, Illinois. It's a northern Chicago suburb. It last sold in 2012. Real house, like actual house on.
So I got a picture up of it.
On Lincoln Avenue. It last sold in 2012 for $1.6 million.
It's beautiful.
Zillow shows it's now worth $2.4 million. It's a 10-bed, 6-bath, 5,400 square foot house. It's a gorgeous house, beautiful house. It's on like a half an acre.
Dude, on every movie, the average family always has this gigantic home.
We've talked about that with Reba.
Yeah. Like, she's a single mom who works too hard. It's like, have you seen what zip code you live in, lady?
Right.
Oh, working so hard.
Huge house.
Yeah.
Full house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Single dad.
Yeah.
Huge house. Anyway, sorry. I'm moving on now.
With this house that works in 1930s, as well as in the 1970s, as well as the 1990s, as well as 2023.
Right. It's a nice brick home now, and it was then.
Yeah.
Like is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So they on purposely did that. They designed all the outfits, all the interior, the makeup. Notice that there's not a lot of technology that's not already old technology in the movie, so that they wanted it to last a long time.
Except for Home Alone 2, where they strategically like product placement through the whole movie, his whole like talkie thing.
Yeah, but they didn't.
I got one of those for Christmas.
He didn't know that it was going to be a hit. I mean, if it made $280-some million in the box office, they're coming back like, all right, we got some flex room to make. And
that's probably why they made it basically an exact replica.
I mean,
they're like, why change it?
Why change it? I mean, and you know what? I loved Home Alone 2.
Did you?
I loved it.
Again, like it's the same movie, but I'm just saying it's
slapstick. It's goofy.
But the first one's just a classic.
It is a classic. When that guy is running around with that iron print on his face, watching it today, I was laughing out loud. Just like, this is so dumb. I want to make this movie. I want to make a movie like it.
Can we also talk about how the Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv, can we talk about how like they would be so dead after that whole interaction? Dead. Like they spent the whole night getting the ever-loving hell beat out of him.
I would have quit the first time walking up the stairs and he steps on that giant, like 16-penny nail. All right, so I want to get a little bit into the movie. Does anybody, do you remember the scene of like Buzz, girlfriend, woof, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm actually going to play that real quick.
He finds the photo.
He finds the photo.
His brother, right? Brother Buzz.
So it was after everybody had already left and he's going through his brother's stash because his brother was always like, get out of my room, you little worm. And so he goes into the room. He's like, Buzz, I'm in your room. Okay. Well, he sees a picture of his girlfriend. Anyways, I'm going to pull up that scene real quick. It's iconic. I always used to laugh as a kid. Okay.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
Okay.
And then breaks it.
It breaks it. Yes. Okay. So
he's living in this house like no one's ever coming home. Like he's just breaking stuff. He's like leaving a mess. Like,
of course. Okay. So something really interesting. Look at this picture of this girl. Okay. So we're pulling it up right here, right now. Okay. First off,
it's intense.
That's not an attractive girl. And here's the point. It's actually not a girl. Okay. So I'm going to read this real quick.
Those are some eyes.
Yeah. But the director, when wanting to cast that part, they didn't want to use a girl. Because
they make fun of her.
They make fun of her and they thought it would just be too rude. And think about it. If I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to make fun of somebody, I don't want that to be like, oh, you're the ugly wolf girl.
Like we pick you because we need an ugly little girl.
But and this is what's cool.
So who is it?
According to Devin, it says, when discussing the Buzz girlfriend Home Alone scene, they didn't want to cast a girl in the part because it would have been mean-spirited. And it says, ultimately, the art director's son gladly volunteered to fill the comedic part.
So it's
a kid.
Okay.
But like, yeah, it's funny. And that's a smart move. It's like some boys could be like, it's going to be funny.
Woof.
And I feel like that's classy. on their part to realize that could have emotionally scarred some individual for the rest of their life.
I hope that happens more often than we know. Because like there are a lot of no-name parts in movies where you're selected specifically to be the butt of the joke. And like especially with kids, I don't love that. It can be difficult for adults, but like damaging for kids.
But I feel like that was a good move for them to do that. And I applaud them for that. And also the plot of Home Alone would not work today in modern time because like there was no cell phones back then that could call international. They're mid-flight. They're freaking out that's when they realized Kevin.
Yeah, because they were going to Paris, right?
Right. And that's mid-flight. They realized Kevin's not there. They left him behind. Nowadays, you just log on to the Wi-Fi. You can call someone, FaceTime someone, text someone, and most likely that kid had a cell phone.
Tap into your home cameras and like talk to them.
Call a neighbor and make sure to go pick them up.
Yeah.
I will say a big obvious plot hole in the entire thing is why didn't he call the cops at any point in time?
Well, because like, here's the thing. Like so it's real in two sort of streams of thought that children have at some point in their childhood, which over here on the one side is like, what if I was here? Like, what if this whole house was like my domain? What if all these like tall people got out of here and like, I could run this thing and like, I could do whatever. I would eat ice cream all the time. I would order pizza. I would jump on the bed. I would like do like all the things that he does when he first realizes he's home and he's like, this is awesome. Like this is my house.
I feel like that's why we relate so much is because as a kid,
you and me or you and Kevin?
No, we relate with Kevin because Kevin, you're like, I get it. Yeah. As a kid, I always shared a room with a sibling at some point in time. And it's just like, I wanted my own room.
Yeah.
If they were just all gone.
And in a 10-bedroom, $1 million home is like, it's like a castle. Yeah. Especially if you're 3 feet tall, like so that's on one side. But then the other side, the movie captures many children's like greatest fear of the idea of being home alone and
the noises in the basement.
Noise in the basement.
Yeah, that's scary.
And then ultimately like somebody trying to get in. He's scared of not only the burglars, but he's fearful of old man Marley, I think he's referred to, the guy who ends up saving him in the end. But there's a lot of fear in that movie too that he has to confront and deal with. So it's like this interesting juxtaposition that I think if we look back at our childhood, all of us, like we can relate to moments where we wanted to run things and like just kind of go crazy, but then also like we're fearful of being alone, and it captures that. And
also the parents. A lot of times parents are just like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get this done. Leave me alone. Let me fix this out. And
it captures every parent's fear too of like a lost kid.
Nothing matters. The mom's journey back to get to the son, where she's getting tickets from people, riding with the Polka group, like anything, nothing matters. She would have spent all of her money to get back to her son. But that goes to also show what's so important. And that's the beauty of the best Christmas movie is basically family. Family is really the meaning of the season. And man, it's a fun movie. And it didn't originally start off that way, where that neighbor had that side story where he was afraid.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this before, but basically the ending was actually just going to be the parents came home and was like, what happened? Oh, nothing, which is a terrible ending.
Yeah.
As if he didn't want them to know that he was fighting off burglars the entire time he was gone.
Another ending that they didn't include was a shot with Marv and Harry, the wet bandits, in prison, watching like one of the prison TVs and seeing the movie. Remember the movie that he plays, like Keep the Change, You Filthy Animal, and like scares them and they run away and they like think it's a real. They were going to play that movie on the TV in the prison, and they would realize that like it was a movie. Like just to add insult to injury at the end of the actual movie. That's fun.
No, I did not know that.
Obviously
do they have those scenes out there?
I don't know. I don't know. Man. I didn't see it.
Put that on the bonus DVD or they don't do DVDs.
But that movie, Filthy Angels, Dirty
Keep the Change.
What was it called? It's not a real movie. They made that movie just for Home Alone.
Had no clue. I thought it was a classic movie.
Right.
My entire life. Until about 6 months ago, I was like, they had to make the movie.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So they and it's a great, like it's believable as like a old school movie.
I grew up watching those kind of movies with my grandma and grandpa. The ones just like gangster movies.
You watched?
No, just like shoot 'em up.
I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your
good. Oh, let me pull that up.
Angels with Filthy Souls. That's what it's called.
Hold up a second.
Is this the whole thing? Like, this is probably all the shots?
It's 2 minutes. You want to?
Oh, Angels with Even Filthier Souls is from Home Alone 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Angels with Filthy Souls. Here, hold up a second.
Who is it?
It's me, Snakes. I
Snake.
got the stuff.
The stuff.
Leave it on the doorstep and get the hell out of here.
But what about my money?
Like, I would watch this movie.
Yeah, Dick
What
Tracy type
Yeah,
of movie.
right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I grew up watching this type of
Yeah.
stuff.
That a fact. How much do I owe you?
10%.
Too bad AC ain't in charge no more.
This mob boss
What do you
reminds me
mean?
of my
He's
well guy.
upstairs.
The guy who works on our well at our house.
Are they both wearing festive ties? Wait, what's he wearing?
Tell you what I'm gonna give you, Snakes.
This is the best part.
I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
I used to
All
quote
right,
this.
Johnny, I'm
Your
sorry.
guts full of lead. Yeah, everybody,
1,
every kid in this
2,
era.
10.
The laugh here coming up.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I used to quote that.
Classic
too.
line.
Love it. Love
Classic line. By the way, laughing like that seems like it makes sense, but like, who's got to clean up that mess now?
Oh,
in his
it.
office.
I know.
Bullet holes. You got guts.
But I do love how they incorporated it. So the story. But
I need to real quick. I need to start keeping a Tommy gun in my desk drawer. I think like that's a cool move.
Weren't timing guns like 22s basically?
No, they were 45s.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think they were 45 caliber. Like they were big rounds.
So one cool thing about actually the music behind this, it wasn't supposed to be originally this guy, but they were able to get John Williams at like a discounted rate because it wasn't a high budget film.
Which I didn't know much about John Williams.
John Williams, I know of him because he did Indiana Jones, the music and the score to Indiana Jones. He did Star Wars, Jaws, Indiana Jones, E.T., Harry Potter, Jurassic Park.
One guy did all these?
Well, he's the conductor. Like he wrote all the stuff. He's like the Hans Zimmerman of that age.
I mean, you just named like every huge movie ever. Like Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, like that phrase, that melody.
Yeah.
That's him. And he uses horns so well as an
I
accent.
use my horn in my car really well.
Boo.
I was 3 when this movie came out.
Really?
Yeah, you were a bit older. I'm
Oh,
not going to
I was
rub
a
that
bit
in,
older.
but
Yeah, okay. With movies like this, obviously they were budget conscious. They had to figure out ways to do special effects. There are actually quite a bit of special effects in the movie that are just kind of like subtle, but like old school special effects. I'm actually going to play some of the special effects for you. And it's not this picture of Buzz's girlfriend, Wolf.
I mean, probably there's a little bit of special effects there.
Makeup. Okay, you remember the scene where the guys almost run into Kevin? I'm going to play
This is the Wet Bandits, right?
the Wet Bandits right after they just looted the neighbor's house.
Okay.
Okay, so look at this. Okay, we've all seen the scene. Do you notice anything?
I noticed it was a dodge.
They had to go backwards. Look at the scarf. So they actually did the whole scene backwards. Look at the smoke. It's actually going into the van as they come forward. And look how he's walking so weird. So he's actually going backwards. Now the smoke is going out. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So it's like old school ways. Like you couldn't.
So they were backing away from him.
Yes,
So he started with the near collision
exactly.
because obviously you don't want
The
to
star
like
character.
slam on the brakes of a big van and have it end up an inch from a child's face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like you didn't notice it watching the movie.
No.
But like clearly the smoke is going into the car. Look how weird he's walking. It's because he's actually going
he was
backwards.
kind of like
Yeah.
slinking along.
So like they just literally had him go out. But like, and so it's
And
just
it probably
guys.
just shook the
It's
van.
guys offset.
Yeah.
So look how weird he's walking, because he's actually going backwards, and the smoke is going into the van. But that goes to show,
Wow.
like nowadays there's like CG it, but they had to like figure ways to actually properly do it.
Do you think well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, here's another special effects. This is actually a guy, Fun Fact Films. It was on YouTube. And this is a thing that he did on. I'm actually just going to push play and let you watch it.
During the flamethrower gag, there are 2 small details left in the film that reveal how the stunt was made. They did it by using an old magic trick called Pepper's Ghost, by placing a sheet of glass in front of the camera at a 45-degree angle. Then a black box with a black mannequin inside it was also placed at a 45-degree angle on the other side of the camera. So when Joe Pesci hit a very specific mark on the set, he blocked out the reflection of the dummy in the glass, making it seem like the on-set flamethrower was actually burning his scalp. But the 2 small details I mentioned earlier that were left in the film are a reflection of the black curtain appearing on top of the cupboard, which was created by a spill of light from the blowtorch that was being reflected into the glass. And a small part of the mannequin's head can be seen next to Joe Pesci's head, because he wasn't completely lined up to cover up the mannequin's reflection.
But you don't think about that. I just assumed that they put a flame to his head, but that's like, it was a stretch for them
You thought they did?
when I was a kid, I was like, of course, he just stood there. He had a special hat on.
The thing that I didn't think about as a kid that I think about now is like, what an absolutely horrific medieval home security system.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to light your face on fire for peeking it, like peeking it through the...
It's crazy. No, I mean,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'll pump your guts full of lead. if you
keep the change,
if you come in my house. But like, man, yeah, that's crazy how they did that though.
But it was a stretch to get Joe Pesci to come on the film.
What do you mean?
Like, they had to kind of convince him.
Because they told him they were going to like burn his head off?
Well, no, just in general, because he was a big actor at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It was hard to get him. Think about it. Who else is really popular on that entire movie?
Yeah.
Except for him.
Yeah.
So
also he was in, I think, mostly like
gangster movies.
Like very, I don't want to say adult films because that's a different thing, but in like lots of language.
Yes.
Like you said, gangster movies, like, crime and violence and everything. And so like,
his hardest thing was to not curse.
Yeah. His counterpart, the tall guy, Marv. So he quit partway through. Did you know that?
Elaborate though.
Well, he quit because he overpay. Like basically it was going to be a 6-week production, I think, for what he was needed for. And he realized it was going to go 8 weeks and he wanted to get paid for the additional time, which I get. But like, as we talked about, there was no more budget. Like they were slicing that thing as thin as they could. And I think the director was able to talk him back into it.
Which good move on his part.
Talked him back into, yeah, for sure. Well, good move on the director's part for getting him back in, but also, I mean, Daniel Stern made a good decision to come back. Yeah,
because he got paid on that second one.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I know, for sure. A lot.
One thing that one of the clips I was going to have, but I didn't get to, for some reason it's not here, but it was the part where they originally had told him that they were going to have a little mechanical spider that they were going to put on his face. And he was excited about that scene because it was supposed to be funny. Then when he showed up, there was the real spider there. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, whoa, what's going on? I thought we were using the mechanical. And it didn't really work out well and didn't look real. And so we're going to use the real thing. And they were like, you said, are you going to like defang it? And they're like, no, unfortunately, it's going to die if we defang it. He's like, if you don't defang it, I'm going to die. And they said, well, it's trained, it's fine. So they actually set it down. It's a real spider. It's a real spider they set on his face. He did not get paid enough to.
So I looked into this. Let me expand on that even. Not only did they not defang it, because like some tarantulas, like they will bite you and they have big fangs, but that's very different than like, being bitten by like a venomous spider, like a black widow. Most people agree that particular tarantula was a Chilean rose tarantula.
Rose sounds nice.
It's not. Let me just read to you from Wikipedia what this guy put on his face.
Okay.
It says, though not extremely dangerous to humans, the venom contains neurotoxins that disrupt the nervous system and hemotoxins that disrupt the circulatory system. Venom is mainly used for hunting as it also contains enzymes that break down prey into ingestible fluid. So those fangs were on his face, and it wasn't just the risk of like, I'd get bit. Like people will talk like there's some insects that will bite you, or spiders, like wolf spiders will bite you, and it's like a bee sting basically. It hurts, but like this guy actually has venom that is a neurotoxin, and will start to digest your face.
I hate spiders in general, but something that big that had weight, like he could probably feel that on his face.
You can see when he screams, you can see like the hairs of the spider like vibrating. Right.
Well, I had heard a long time ago that he actually didn't scream. He just opened his mouth and screamed. Like that's what I was told. Where he just opened his mouth and they ADR'd later, like they did a voiceover. So. But I watched a documentary thing today where they were like, they actually told him that thing can't hear very well. So go ahead and scream.
But it can like tell if.
So he did scream. That was a real scream. According to him,
That's about what I would sound like too. I know the scream.
it's that should become the new. You know how they have that one scream that's in every movie. What's it called? You know which one I'm talking about? The famous scream. Let me look that up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the famous scream that's in every movie.
Like in like every scary movie, like when someone's getting murdered. Like every movie, there's a scream.
It's a sound guy's joke that they put in every movie. Here,
I've never heard of
watch
this.
I don't know if this is the right video. That scream.
Does this scream sound familiar? That's because it's used in over 100 films.
The Wilhelm scream is maybe the most famous sound effect in Hollywood. It is used when characters are shot or fall off high places in action films.
The scream made its first appearance in a 1951 film called Distant Drum.
And there's a moment in the film where a character is dragged into the swamp and they wanted a particularly blood-curdling scream.
Now, this was just one of many different screams in the film.
To make a film, you need a sound effects library, a collection of sound effects.
I'm telling you,
you're going to
every
use
movie.
them in different parts of the film.
Producers had cast members record a variety of different screams. But there was one man's scream in particular that stood out among the rest.
It's usually credited now to Sheb Wooley, who was a kind of a Western-style character actor and a novelty singer who appears in Distant Drums.
But its first appearance in 1951 wasn't the scream's shining moment. That happened when it was used again in the 1953 film The Charge at Feather River.
I've heard this.
A character
I know
named
this scream for
Private
sure.
Wilhelm was
you're
shot
right,
in
it's
the
used-
leg with an arrow.
I didn't realize it's exactly the same scream though.
It's everywhere.
And that's
Yeah.
how it got named the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, so I think that they should take his scream and make it the new scream. I've used it in stuff just as a joke.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
It's a thing.
watching it back to back, it is the same scream, and I've heard it 100 times.
100 times. It's in games.
So wait, so go back.
So
you're saying what about it now?
The spider scene. Let me see.
That his spider scream should become the new one?
Yes.
It's a little too intense though to be used for everything.
I love it.
Like, I hate that. I hate that it
I do
lands
too.
upside down.
I just think that like literally that's
I mean, that'd be me. With that spider on my face.
he did such a good. Nobody else could have played this part.
Yeah.
I actually was doing my best to try to find the other people who were possibly going to be cast for the position, but I ran out of time. Bro, the Wilhelm scream, that's the new one. The new Wilhelm scream is that. I'm telling you, all like audio guys, do it. Make it happen.
Do it.
Oh,
Henceforth.
it needs to be appropriate. I'm falling off a building and like type of stuff. But like, yeah, it's now watch every movie. It's literally in every movie. It's a joke.
Well, now I know. I never knew that before.
You had mentioned actually that Macaulay Culkin's actually went on Joe Rogan, and I actually got him talking about like just watch this.
It's weird that child labor laws don't apply to acting.
Yeah, they do.
Do they?
Yeah, I'm pretty well versed in child labor laws.
Well, how's that work then?
It goes from state to state. They can work you, like let's say, like in New York, they can work you 10 hours.
Yeah, but stop right there. They can work you. Like
Well,
you can't get a job if you're 8.
That's what you're kind of like. That's what their limit is. At the same time, you have to get 3 hours of schooling in plus an hour of lunch. So really, your available window is only 6 hours or something like that a day. And that also in that 6 hours, they're always like setting up the lights for the next shot and the hurry up and wait kind of part of of things. That's why like the second Home Alone, it took like nearly 5 months to film because they can only I'm in virtually every scene and they can only use me X amount of hours per day kind of thing.
So like if we ever write a script or something, let's make certain to work that in.
Or no kids at all.
That's why people have a hard time doing it, or they hired the twins because it's actually just a little bit easier. But it was
Speaking of which, did you know his brother was in Home Alone?
I actually learned that today.
Kieran, I think is his name.
It's his little brother in the movie, right?
It's his. It's supposed to be his cousin. It's the kid when.
Oh, his cousin. Yeah.
You know, when like in the beginning of the movie, they're all in the kitchen having pizza, and he like ends
Is he
up
the bedwetter? I think he's the bedwetter. Yeah, go ahead.
He charges Buzz. Everything like chaos ensues, and like the uncle slides his chair back, and it like pinches the kid's face up against the wall. That's his brother.
So
But he's playing his cousin.
That's a rubber chair.
Yeah. You can actually.
You could see it bend, right? But like, you don't think about that. Special effects. That's a great prop thing.
It's also such a random moment, though.
Yeah, but it's so real.
I'm trying to put my head in the mind of the director who's like, no. You know what we need?
Yep.
We need to see his face get bent by the chair. Like, it is funny.
Well, that's someone who did it earlier that week and just wanted to feel like everybody accidentally squishes their kid up against the wall, right? You know?
Yeah. It's a funny shot.
And talking about even this is like, you asked me the question. So is it normal for parents to accidentally forget their kids somewhere? And I started dying laughing because I'm one of 7.
Yeah.
And my parents have unfortunately left several kids at places.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's always when someone's coming over and there's more than one kid. They're all the same ages. It's exactly like the movie where that one kid, there was just too many kids and they're just counting the heads. They're not just saying, okay, so-and-so's here, so-and-so's here. But my parents accidentally left my sister once at church. My mom accidentally left my brother in Walmart. He was just sitting in the cart right next to the register, just crying when we went back in. I mean,
I did some research on this.
Oh, you've got stats.
I have some stats, and it kind of took me down a dark path, by the way, because, because it's within the context of, unfortunately, like you hear about like parents leaving their children in like a hot car.
Oh, that's
like forgetting that their kid is in a car, which is awful.
Well, because like it happens a lot to men because they're supposed to drop off their kids at the babysitter or their mom's and they're not used to it and they forget, the kid falls asleep.
Yeah. It unfortunately, it's about 40 times a year in the US that like 40 deaths a year that happen from a kid. So it's awful. I want to make a point to share this because I kind of went down the path myself. They make like a variety of reminder products on Amazon. This is not an ad. This is just like telling you that these products exist. So
I need this. What is it?
So they make like, like in manufacturing, they have like lockout tags, like before you work on a piece of heavy manufacturing machinery or like high voltage, you lock it out, like you disconnect and like you put a tag on it so that it cannot be operational. It's a tag like that. Like when your kid is in the car, you take that tag from the car seat and you put it on your door handle. So like if you go to open your door and get out, it's your reminder like, hey, there's a kid in the back. And then when you go get the kid, you leave the tag on the car seat. But then there's also like, there's some electronic gadgets that like every time you turn your car off, it beeps like a reminder, like there's a child in the car. I don't know.
Based off the weight, maybe?
I don't know if it's the weight or I'm not sure exactly what it is. But anyway, these things exist. Like these are preventable deaths and they unfortunately happen. And like we are all so stressed and pulled in a million different directions and
distracted too.
If your normally loud kid falls asleep in the car, like, it's really, really awful. But here's why it happens. They say by the time you're 35 years old, 80 to 90% of everything you do in a day is habitual. It's like all of your activities are things that you kind of do every day, or you've sort of created these neurological pathways where it's like the pre-programmed algorithm, like brushing your teeth. You don't really have to think about, okay, so I lift the brush up to my teeth. I go left, I go right, I go left, I go right. Unless you're brushing like we talked about with your left hand, then it is that. But we are creatures of habit and we build in these sort of chunks of code in our life where we just know, okay, brushing our teeth, great, got it. And you just start brushing and your mind wanders. And it's the same thing, like largely that's what happens when you're driving. And that's how you end up with distracted driving because like driving is so automatic. It's pre-programmed.
How many times have you gotten home from work and been like, I don't remember driving home?
Exactly. Yeah, because your mind wanders. And so that's called habit memory. But the counter to that is what's called prospective memory. And prospective memory are the things you're trying to remember to do. Like you're like, oh, I got to run to the grocery store. I got to pick up the 10 things I always pick up, but I got to remember to get that one extra thing that my wife asked me to get. And then you go and then you forget. You come all the way home and she's like, where's the thing? Well, it's because it was a failure
this morning.
It's a failure of prospective memory because it's so easy to just go to the store and get into that pre-programming, that habit. And so people will, like you said, like it's maybe dads that I mean, it's both. It's moms and dads, but like you get on autopilot and you just drive straight to work and your kid is asleep in the back and you just forget. And
I have a story on that personally. You want to hear it? It doesn't end tragically. It ends with me.
Well, you still have all your kids. So.
I do. Well, based on just what you're saying, that kind of explains everything. I was taking my son and daughter somewhere once, but Irene decided to watch my daughter. Just let the daughter. Well, my son wanted to sit in his sister's car seat, both the same size car seat. And I'm so used to reaching over the seat because I have a big van, setting my son down in his seat, buckling the bottom, and he buckles the top. Well, I set him in her seat, which is further away. So I had to kind of go in the van, set him down, then go back to shut the door. And then I sit down. And I put the car seat and I'm talking to my son. We're having fun. I put on the kids' music and I just start to drive. I'm driving down the road. I go through our neighborhood. I get out onto the road. I get onto the main highway. I'm going 55, just going down the road. And all of a sudden, I feel this little bitty cold hand go on my arm right here, goes, "Hi, Dad." And I'm like, ah! Like I forgot to buckle him. And he had gotten out of the seat and just decided to walk up right next to me. I screamed because I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot to buckle. He starts screaming. The car swerves. He falls on the ground.
Exactly not what's supposed to happen in that moment.
But I was like, oh my goodness, like what happened? And it swerves here. And I try to catch him. So it made the car actually swerve a little more. Now it wasn't like swerving, like screeching, but it was enough that it scared me. I slowed down, pulled over, and I looked at it and said, "Son, I'm so sorry that I forgot to buckle you in." He goes, "That was really scary." I was like, for both of us, buddy. I hugged him. I called his mom. I was like, you married an idiot. And, but it comes down to, I didn't put him in his normal seat, that I put him in 100 to 1,000 times.
Well, we're designed to take these shortcuts. Like that's, like we kind of program these things in.
Because when I sit down in the seat is when I start the vehicle.
Yeah. The drive to work.
I'm done buckling him in.
Yeah. Because if we would be totally overwhelmed and overstimulated if every single day we had to think through every motion and action and everything. So it makes sense that this is all built in, but it's unfortunately
I'm terrified now. And my son is terrified. He's like, "Dad, I'm not buckled. I'm not buckled." Yeah. I'm like, "Son, I haven't even turned the car on yet."
But anyway, that is how you're, especially in times of stress, lack of sleep, chaos, like what was happening in the McAllister household that morning.
They nailed it. They nailed it.
Also, as far as forgetting Kevin, there's a little thing that I think most people don't catch, but in that chaos of the night before, the whole pizza spilled milk scene in the kitchen, if you watch carefully, Kevin's dad picks up this like wad of wet napkins and he throws it into
after he spilled like milk or something. Yeah, right?
He throws it into the garbage. And you can see, I think it's an American Airlines ticket brochure bunched up in all that, but it says Kevin on it. So basically he threw away Kevin's ticket. It was a little bit of like subtle foreshadowing. So that's also why they didn't notice, because they kind of did their head count. They checked the tickets and it's not like they saw a Kevin ticket.
And weren't like 9 or 11 people coming, including his
and there was a bunch, I think, in the van and everything. Yeah. But they didn't have his ticket. So they kind of went through the tickets. It's like, oh yeah, we got everybody.
When I think back to the dad. I'm 40. And how old are you now? 35?
36.
Okay, 36. In my mind, it's like seared in there that they're the adults, because as a kid, they were the old people. But do you know like how old they actually are?
I don't know how old they were supposed to be, but I know how old the actors, because there's like actors that will be their actual age is very different than the character they play, for example. But Catherine O'Hara, is the mom, who's many people nowadays know from like Schitt's Creek. Oh, yeah. She's great. Moira Rose. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's great.
Which she's like 70, I think now. Mm-hmm. In Home Alone, she was 36. And Dad, the actor, again, I don't know what he was supposed to be, but he's 44.
Holy.
And apparently, in the process of looking that up,
I feel so old right now.
Well, there was this whole thing across the internet about people being amazed that she was 36. And I don't know whether that's because they thought
I thought she was
younger
older.
or older.
I thought she was older.
Well, I think so. Here's what I kept running
Maybe because
into.
all of us millennials feel like we're young and we're all like,
I think that's 40, what it is. I mean, I'm 36 now.
So
you watch these movies when you're a kid and you're like, oh yeah, that's Kevin's mom. I identify more with Kevin. When I watched Home Alone, I was probably about the same age that he was in the movie. And you see, mom, and it's like, oh yeah, that's mom. She's much, much older.
Maybe because they had their shit together. They have this big, beautiful house.
That's true. Going to Paris.
They're going to Paris.
I'm 36.
It's like, we're struggling to pay bills here. Right?
Yeah.
But anyways, so this has to do a little bit with Home Alone 2.
Which he was in New York, right?
It was
For that
in New
one?
York. Apparently I guess it was in Canada, they actually edited out the scene of Donald Trump being in there. When all the controversy and everybody was removing him from every social media and all this stuff, they decided around that time to also remove him. They say it was because they were trying to shorten the film. So I'm actually going to play the clip, and just to kind of show you what it actually was and what they edited out.
Excuse me, where's Lamont? Be?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
Okay.
That hair hasn't changed a bit.
No, it hasn't changed a bit. So
it's maybe gotten better.
So, of course, a lot of people were like, "Hey, why did you edit him out of a movie?" It's like
so that never made the final cut. Where did you find it?
So no, that made the final cut in America. It's still there. If you go buy the DVD, it's there. But apparently in America, in Canada, they had it where they edited that section out, and they said it was due to time constraint. But it was around the same time he was changing the tariffs on that on Canada. And so I think that I think it was a political thing. They're just like, he's not going to be on our TV. So I've looked really hard on the internet. And I found the version that they wanted. Okay. So here we go.
Is this for real?
I might have edited it, but we'll see. Okay. This is what they wish would have happened.
This is what happens when a video producer gets a hold of stuff.
This is what they wish would have happened.
Excuse me, where's Lamont? Be?
There you go.
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
That's
Canadian approved.
I noticed, by the way, he talks with his hands still. Like even then, he's still like very down the hall to the left.
Exactly. So apparently, in that part, he owned the hotel at that time. And
you should have put Trudeau, by the way.
Well, I didn't know if anybody would know who Trudeau was.
Oh,
they would think he was Castro because he looks so much like him.
Oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it?
That is a thing. People think
they say he's related
kid.
or something.
Well, they think he might be the bastard child of him. That's conspiracy theory, but that's not, it holds no weight.
You've heard it now. That's the official story. Holds no weight.
Holds no weight. But apparently Trump kind of weaseled his way into it. Was just like,
don't let this shot get out in the open into the world. People will, this will go far.
Yeah. Let me just play this again. I think you'll appreciate it, David. Look at this. Okay. There you go.
I appreciate your movie magic.
Yeah. It took me all of 12 seconds to make it.
Is this
down the hall and to the left?
Thanks.
What had happened was
I can't look at this. Take this off the screen. It's creeping me out.
It's a creepy look. But he was just like, yeah, sure, you can film here. And I guess they wanted a really low rate. He's like, just leave the name. And then last minute he was like, oh, I'm going to be in it too. And we won't have to pay.
So
anything.
this is in Trump's hotel.
Trump's hotel.
Okay.
When he owned it at the time. And
he's always been like, feel how you want about Trump, but I feel like he has always been one to recognize a good opportunity to like get in the spotlight and to be seen and to be visible. Long before he was, doing his presidential run and all of that. Like people loved him.
He
was like the go-to guy.
It was in all the rap music. It was when you talked about success, it was Trump.
Yeah.
And it was as soon as he decided to run for politics, it just became a weird thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what grinds my gears? Thank you, Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin.
I'm not a huge fan.
Gears.
Okay, so there's a reason why. So I started off, I loved every Disney movie. And over the years, I've just gotten to the point where I don't like what they're doing business-wise, how they treat other companies. Basically, Disney owns Fox Entertainment now. So Disney owns Home Alones. And it's partially, I'm just like, sometimes I just don't like the modern version of Disney.
I think it's important to point out, by the way, that you're probably separating Disney from Walt Disney, because we did a podcast on Walt Disney and I think spoke quite favorably.
Disney was brilliant. I mean, he was also
Disney.
Walt Disney, but Disney, the corporation that it's become, has I don't know what it is. It's struggling. They're just repeating old stuff and not doing it that great. They're buying up companies and just producing more.
I'm getting tired of remakes. I think everyone's getting tired of remakes. Like, we need original stuff.
Yes.
Like Home Alone.
Like for real. And I think there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, they're losing so much money in the stock market right now. I partially believe that Apple's going to purchase them. And they're just waiting for the stock to continue dropping.
Is this
it's a hunch.
It's just a hunch?
It's just
you have
a
no
hunch.
evidence?
Well, I mean, there's talks of actually trying to get out of this hole that
Is this about to be some insider trading? Do you know something
Apple is dominating everything. And it makes sense. But I mean, Disney owns ESPN, CBS, ABC. They own Fox Entertainment, Hulu, Disney Plus, Lucasfilms, Marvel. Like they own everything. Yeah. And so Apple is trying to produce their own content as well now. I mean, and the stock market is not treating Disney very well because they've just had fail after fail after fail. And they've spent hundreds of millions on these movies. And I think people are just like we love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but it's like, you guys are kind of like destroying the brand. And I think,
do you feel like it's become difficult with today's expectations for Hollywood movies to make these kind of like, I don't know if Home Alone's a cult classic, but like there's a lot of movies that came out, I feel like in the, really there were a few decades, like 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. Like there's some really great films that were fairly low budget, but were just great stories, well done. They did a lot with what they had. But like now the expectation for any movie coming out is that it's going to be, you know, several $100 million in the making.
Epic thing.
And yeah, like just heaps of CGI and crazy effects. And like movies are just very expensive to make now. Do you think like we've left in history like any like cheap movies that are like future cult classics or anything?
Man,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But like, I think it was Matt Damon had a really good analogy why they've stopped making those movies. In the past, they could experiment with trying to make a cult classic or trying to make a Home Alone or type of movie that was like 14 million and yields 200 million. They had the DVD market. If it didn't do well in the box office, they could always then turn around and sell a physical product where they know they could make X amount of dollars because they would sell it to Walmart. They would sell it to like the CD stores, the DVD stores.
Yeah.
And there was a market afterwards. Now it's like.
And I guess a lot of like cult classics oftentimes became that. Like they maybe weren't that when they hit the box office. Like some of them.
Are you asking, are there future ones out there or I misunderstood you a little bit.
I just feel like.
Do you think there's movies now that's already been made that could be classics or are they on the shelf or what are you asking?
I feel like when you look at Home Alone and we talk about the story of it, you know, being made for whatever, $13 or $14 million. And that's kind of the story with a lot of just classics, just great American classic films is they're like low budget, but they're either really funny or really well told, great stories, incredible cast, like they were able to basically like overcome a very low budget because the quality of the film in one respect or the other. I just feel like with today's production costs, like the expectation is that if you're going to go to the box office that you've already spent like a couple $100 million on making the movie. And not only does that put a ton of pressure on then like when it does hit the box office, when it goes to theaters, like you need to make a lot of movie or a lot of money. But I just feel like it's a huge barrier to entry for, you know, someone to come along with like a really great story, but not this huge budget. And so I don't know if like, does Matt Damon talk about this?
Yes.
Can we say officially that Matt Damon is going to be on our podcast then?
I mean, right now, but I wish he'd come on our podcast.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like from here on out, I'm going to tell people that Matt Damon was on our podcast.
I mean, it's bullshit, but
I mean, here he is. Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
He's on someone else's sitting on the couch on a Friday night, going through the streaming services, cycling through the movies and thinking to themselves, they're not making movies for me anymore. As somebody who's been intimately involved in movie making for 30 years, what are the macro Hollywood conditions behind that sentiment?
The DVD was a huge part of our business, of our revenue stream. And technology has just made that obsolete. And so the movies that we used to make, you could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater because you knew you had the DVD coming behind the release. And 6 months later, you'd get a whole nother chunk. It would be like reopening the movie almost. And when that went away, that changed the type of movies that we could make. I did this movie Behind the Candelabra, and I talked to a studio executive who explained it was a $25 million movie. I would have to put that much into print and advertising, right, to market it. And now I'm in $50 million. I have to split everything I get with the exhibitor, right, the people who own the movie theaters. So I would have to make $100 million before I got into profit. And the idea of making $100 million on a story about like this love affair between these two people, yeah, I love everyone in the movie, but so that's suddenly a massive gamble in a way that it wasn't in the 1990s when they were making all those kind of movies, the kind of movies that I loved and the kind of movies that were my bread and butter.
I would venture to say there's so much more competition in the marketplace for people's eyeballs. Like people a lot of times aren't even watching the shows they put on now, whether it's a movie on Netflix or a show or whatever. You turn it on in the background, but then you're scrolling on your phone and you sit there and you're looking at some other short form content. And
on that note,
stuff
real quick,
that doesn't even go to the movie theater.
No, so what's the name of that girl who has the comments channel? She's with Daily Wire.
Brett Cooper.
So on Brett Cooper's channel, she says, the comment section. Brett Cooper was like, Brett Cooper watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. And I watched a few seconds of it, but basically it's her watching the movie and she's just scrolling on her phone, not watching Lord of the Rings. And you can see the guy next to him like,
was it a joke or like?
No, she was just like, her attention span was so like bad. So, and you look at the comments.
In all fairness, her whole show is reading social comments.
Of course. I get it. It's a long movie.
She probably got like a super thumb.
The comment section of that video is like, literally didn't watch this because she was on her phone the entire time. But that's what it's like watching movies with my wife. She can't watch a movie. Also, like I've noticed people can't read books anymore. They'll read a section and then they'll be on their phone. They'll read a section, be on a phone. Like
it's like a problem.
It's a bad problem.
And sometimes I found myself kind of getting in that headspace too, where I'm like, I cannot focus on anything. Like this is bad.
So Brett Cooper, watch the movie. It's a good movie.
It was Lord of the Rings. I mean, it is long.
It is long. Yeah, but still.
You sure it wasn't a joke?
No, it was not. Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of her channel. I think it's funny. The stuff she does, the things she says, good on her. But it's like, don't disrespect Lord of the Rings because the fans will come after you. I'm not the biggest fan of Lord of the Rings. I like the movie. It's fun. But like my wife is like a diehard fan of Lord of the Rings.
Can we talk about like how smart Matt Damon is?
Is he smart?
He's very smart.
Really?
Yeah. Like in several instances.
Like smart enough to come on our podcast?
That would be very wise of him.
Yeah, right.
Although we don't have anything. It looks like he was eating some delicious wings or something.
He was on Hot Ones.
We have urine in bottles, so I don't know if you're into that, Matt. But
he's a brilliant guy.
I've seen several interviews. I mean, I don't know. Brilliant that's a big word.
Fine.
I can't even spell it. But yeah, I've just heard him interviewed several times and ask sort of like spur of the moment questions, and he's just like boom, like he just is ready to jump in and provide a very well thought out, thorough, comprehensive response. And I'm just like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, was that arranged?
Because he's not on TikTok scrolling.
Yeah. So he can focus.
Yeah.
No, I've just been impressed. Like there's some depth there. And he just seems like a really intelligent guy. He's also been, I forget the movie that he's in. It was many years ago, but is it Good Will? I think it's Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. Yeah.
And he like,
where he's the smart guy and
he's the smart guy. And I think they're in the bar and like, he just delivers like, it's a monologue. It's just like it's just him. And it's like line after line after line after line. And it feels like it's probably all one continuous take, but it was like a heavy duty set of script. And he just like powers through and it's impressive. But
he's a good actor.
Anyway, apparently I'm a Matt Damon fan.
Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't in Home Alone, so I don't care.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't in Home Alone, but
I do want to know what you guys' favorite Christmas movie is. My wife's is Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love that.
And Sinbad?
Sinbad, yeah. But really, what is your favorite Christmas movie?
The Turbo Man.
The Turbo Man?
Growing up, we would always watch, I know these are two older movies, but we would always watch It's a Wonderful Life. That's a staple, I think, for a lot of people. Actually, 3 movies. We would also watch White Christmas, another old classic.
Love that one.
With Bing Crosby. And then A Christmas Story. The You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, the Red Ryder. Which, like, looking back, is just kind of a weird movie. Mm-hmm. But it's a classic. But it's a great movie, and it's probably another one of those that was like probably fairly low budget. Mm-hmm. As I reflect on it, it was probably paid for mostly by Red Ryder BB guns.
Probably, yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I like those old Christmas movies. There's it's weird because I feel like every single year we've talked about this, but like, you know, there's like Hallmark movies that come out every year that are like trying to capitalize on Christmas. And, but there's something about some of these old classic movies.
When you put them in a certain time and that they end up lasting longer. If you're too trendy, like a lot of these Hallmark ones are just like, the girl is set to be very fashionable. The guy's attractive in today's
and they'll
standards.
Make like modern pop culture references.
And there's a lot of also modern music in it. So you got to be the classic stuff, 10 or 20 years older, works better to make it feel more classic.
Yeah, you're right. Like there's something about the music from the last few decades that is very time stamped. But if you look at like, the music from like White Christmas, it's old music, but it's still great music. Keep all that in mind when it's time for you to make a Christmas movie.
I want to.
You do something that's timeless.
In my lifetime, I want to do a Christmas movie. I'm going to do a Christmas movie.
Why?
Well, because I want something that has like meaning versus more than just something. We've always done stuff that's been like trendy, or what's the hottest music, do a music video for the band, or like what's trending on things. I would love to have something that would last beyond me, including the music, the story, and the message behind it. So that's why I'd love to do Christmas, because I enjoyed Christmas movies so much as a kid.
Yeah.
Even corny ones like Ernest Saves Christmas. Love it. Love that stuff.
I like the Santa Claus too, by the way.
Yeah, love those.
Tim Allen.
Exactly, but they last. Yeah, Tim Allen.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
put it this way. Until like way too late in life, I thought the song "Oh Christmas Tree," because on Ernest Saves Christmas, he sings "Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree,
You thought that
oh
was-
Christmas tree."
that was the whole
and it's
song?
the whole song is "Oh Christmas Tree," and then as an adult watching it later on, I'm like, I think I thought that was the song to like late into my teens. And realized that there's more to the song.
Yeah.
But look, I joke that it's the best movie ever. It's a good one. I'd love to hear what you guys' favorite Christmas movie is. Dave, thanks for doing this. It's been a while since we've done this. We're actually going to be moving from this space into a new space. We're going to be traveling a lot this year. So guys, wish us luck. Subscribe. We need it because traveling is expensive these days. Gas is expensive, and any support. We got merch going to be coming out soon, and
Yeah, we just got a lot of big plans for this channel and for our company at large. So like seriously, there's going to be some really fun content coming out on Chasing Mountains Media. So there's nothing there yet, but feel free to jump over and subscribe. We'll put there'll be a link in the description. And I think you'll like what we are putting out over there. It'll
the
be
first
fun.
person to subscribe to that, maybe we'll
What
do
are they
something.
gonna get?
We should do something special for them. There's literally nobody subscribed to that channel right now.
There's nothing on it.
There's nothing on it.
We've got some stuff ready to put on it, but we've just been focused elsewhere. But
Yeah. All right. Well,
Home Alone, good
Home
movie.
Alone. Good. It's 11 o'clock. We've talked for like 2 hours.
Nothing
Good times,
out of
bud.
the ordinary.
I'm glad to be back at it. I'm really excited about the new year. Thanks for kind of going to this endeavor with us. I'm already amazed and shocked on all the stuff that we got coming up. So
Yeah, it's cool. And thanks for if you've followed us recently on Instagram, we've grown quite a bit. I think, the last couple of podcasts have just been really positive for us. And
well, we went from 120 followers on Instagram to almost 20,000.
We're about 20 now almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably by the time we post this, it'll be 20. But yeah, so I bring that up. Just I want to say thank you to everybody that's kind of new to the
thank
party.
you to the guests who've come on our show. Like
for sure. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to Dwayne.
and Dwayne, and really just anybody who's come on the podcast. I feel humbled when people come on our podcast. I know we're
For sure.
professionals and we've done a lot in our careers,
Are
but
we?
we try. But I mean, like we've done some cool stuff in our lives, and I feel like still honored that people would dare come on our little channel. And so,
and we have more coming. So
Matt Damon, you coming on?
he's already been on.
Oh, that's right. He's already been on.
Check that
Macaulay
off.
Culkin's too, right? Yeah.
Check Joe Rogan for that matter.
Yeah,
He was on here. We check all those boxes.
Yeah, right.
But
Right.
anyway, you're gonna
He
take
gets
us
more
on.
comments than we get views by far. Yeah. That's it. Thanks guys for sticking around this long. You deserve an extra, present under the tree for sticking around this long. I'm not going to give it to you. Neither is Dave, but someone should.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. Yeah. All right. Thanks guys. Appreciate it. Merry
See ya.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right.
Thank you, buddy. That was a fun one.
We're back.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to